Hi, friends. Welcome. We're talking about inflammation today, and I'm so glad you're here with me for this. If you're joining live, maybe you've had a long day, or you're waking up already feeling tired, or puffy, or inflamed, or just off. Take a deep breath with me for a moment. In through the nose, and a long exhale out through the mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Today, we're talking about inflammation. Balancing immune activity is critical. Enough to heal and to protect, but not so much that it causes chronic damage or dysfunction in tissues. I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark. I'm an acupuncturist, nutritionist, and I was an engineer before I got into this line of work. And I'm a multi-time Ironman competitor that's still doing those things today. So everything we're going to be talking about are things that I work through personally on a regular basis, and they're very, very, very dear to my heart. So what is, and one of the things I want to talk about is, contrary to current marketing, inflammation is not your body turning against you. It's your body speaking up for you. It's raising its voice where it's been ignored, and it's asking not for punishment, but for partnership and gentler living. So, what exactly is inflammation? Not as a scary word or as a diagnosis, but as something your body is constantly using to try to protect you and heal you, and sometimes even overwhelm you. I have a prettier slide for you. There it is. So, we're going to go through these 5 concepts: what inflammation actually is, how to know when it's helping versus hurting, what labs really mean, and how we use all of that in Decode Your Dolphin program to find your Goldilocks zone of inflammation, your personal just right range. And at the end, I'll share how I've danced with inflammation in my own ultra endurance training and how you can work with me clinically if you feel called. Before we dive deeper, if you're interested in this kind of gentle science meets functional medicine and traditional Chinese medicine conversation about your metabolism inflammation, would you tap like on this video and hit subscribe? It really helps this kind of information reach more people who are feeling exactly like you are. And it lets YouTube know that this is the kind of calm, compassionate health content that you want to see more of. So, what exactly is inflammation, and is there good and bad? First, let's do a check in. Where in your body do you feel inflamed right now? Inflammation is your body's built in alarm and repair system. When something threatens you, like a virus or a twisted ankle or a blood sugar crash, your immune system flips on a series of chemical signals that says, hey, we need help here. Blood flow increases, immune cells rush in, and damaged tissue gets cleared out. And then ideally, the system quiets back down again. So there is absolutely such a thing as good inflammation, and you need it to heal a cut or to fight an infection or even to get stronger after a workout. The trouble comes when the alarm never fully shuts off. Instead of a short, focused response, the body stays in a low, smoldering, inflammatory state all of the time, what research now calls chronic low-grade inflammation, or inflammaging. So yes, there is good and bad inflammation. Good is short-term and targeted, and it's followed by resolution and repair, and then the body moves on. And harmful is chronic, low-grade, often silent, or you desensitize to it, and tightly linked with weight gain, insulin resistance, brain fog, mood changes, cardiovascular risks, and faster aging. So let me give you an image that I love for this. And I love it because it was given to me about 20 years ago, and it still sticks in my mind today as the best way to explain this. Imagine your body has a fence around your home. So your body is your home and you've got this fence. You sprain your ankle or you have surgery or you somehow stress a tendon. And that's like a storm coming through and knocking down part of the house. Those of us who live in Florida get this very, very, very well. A healthy inflammatory response is the construction crew coming in to rebuild it. First, they dig the holes and then they set the fence posts and then they pour the concrete till it's solid. And then finally, they add those slats to make the fence whole and protective again. That whole process, digging, setting posts, concrete, slats, is inflammation and healing working together. And it's not done until you can let your dog out into the yard and the dog can't get out, right? Until every one of those slats is complete. It's not pretty while it's happening and it can be sore and messy, but it's exactly what has to happen for long-term strength. Now, imagine if every time the crew showed up, someone said, "Nope, that looks uncomfortable, go home," and sent them away halfway through. You might get a few posts in the ground, but no concrete. Or the concrete gets poured, but the slats never show up. The fence looks sort of okay from far away, but it's wobbly and weak, and the next storm knocks it right back down. That's what can happen when we routinely shut down inflammation too aggressively or too early. Daily chronic use of NSAIDs, which are those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like Advil or Aleve, to push through pain can interfere with the deeper rebuilding work, especially for bone or tendon or the places where tendon meets bones, because those tissues rely on prostaglandin-driven inflammation to guide proper healing and remodeling. So I'm not saying never take an NSAID. I am saying they're not meant to be the everyday strategy for chronic pain if our goal is true repair. And they're definitely not meant to be used preventatively or prophylactically is the name for that. And for a moment, let's talk about the danger of one of the most popular pain prescription medications, which are opioids. So this is something really near and dear to my heart, and I want to do this really gently because if you're on an opioid right now, chances are you've been suffering for a long time, and I am so sorry for that. And someone was trying to help you feel human again. You deserve relief. And at the same time, we need to be honest about what these medications can do in the background, especially when they're used longer term. Opioids like oxycodone, hydrocodone, morphine, fentanyl can be very, very effective for severe acute pain, like after surgery or major injury, or when somebody's put on hospice. And sometimes in carefully selected chronic pain situations, but they carry very serious risks, like dependence and addiction, where your body adapts to needing the drug just to feel normal, and they don't work nearly as well for pain relief. Tolerance over time, so the same dose doesn't work as well, and higher doses are needed, which raises overdose risk. Overdose because opioids slow breathing. And too much can quietly suppress your respiration to life-threatening levels. And effects on hormones and the immune system over the long term, things like low sex hormones or changes in stress hormones, or possible immune suppression, which can lead to fatigue, low mood, and vulnerability to illness, things like swollen liver and erectile dysfunction. Because of this propensity that humans have to addiction, the US military, I love that we did this, systematically deployed a technique called battlefield acupuncture. And if you are a veteran or active service member, thank you so much for your service. This is used on site for wounded soldiers as a first line defense for pain. If the acupuncture was enough, which it often was, they didn't ever need an addictive painkiller. And our soldiers can come home and get over their energies and reclaim their life rather than lose a part of themselves to this addiction. We also know that even among people being treated as prescribed for chronic pain, Overdose and serious toxicity are not rare, especially when opioids are combined with other sedating medications like benzodiazepines or when higher daily doses are used. Even with recent improvements, about 150 Americans still die every day from opioid overdoses. And that's not including people who die from correctly prescribed opioids and the side effects of them. So when I talk about NSAIDs not being the answer for daily chronic pain, and I bring up the fence building analogy, I also want you to hear this. Opioids are not meant to be the quiet background soundtrack of your life. They're more like the fire department. We are so grateful that they exist and we want them when we truly need them, but we don't want them parked on the lawn with sirens on every day. From a functional medicine and TCM lens, chronic opioid use can also muddy the picture. It can mask the messages your body is sending, alter your qi and your shen, and make it harder to hear more subtle signals that guide true healing. That doesn't mean you failed if you're using them. It means you deserve a plan that looks at other pain tools like movement and physical therapy and acupuncture and mind body work and food and supplements and herbal therapy. The root drivers of pain and inflammation and a careful supported strategy if tapering is ever considered. Never, ever abruptly stop these alone. And if you're hearing this, you're realizing I might be in a risky spot with my pain meds. If this is you, please know that there is help. Talk with your prescriber. And if you need more support, helplines exist exactly for this reason. You are not alone. And acupuncture and herbal medicine can help greatly in that transition process. Thank you for hearing my heart. And there are healthier ways to help with pain and discomfort while still allowing the fence to be rebuilt. Gentle movement and physical therapy to keep circulation going, ice or heat, depending upon the stage and the type of injury. And just to update something many of us were taught for years, the original RICE approach, rest, ice, compression, elevation, came from Dr. Gabe Merkin in the 1970s. He's since publicly changed this stance. Newer research suggests that while brief cooling can reduce pain and swelling immediately after an injury, like in the first 15 minutes, both prolonged ice and complete rest may actually delay healing, especially after muscle damage or soft tissue injuries. Inflammation is part of the repair crew. When we blunt that response too hard or too long, we're a bit like the neighbor who keeps sending the fence builders home halfway through the job. The focus is now on gentle protection, compression, elevation, and early pain-guided movement to support the body's own healing intelligence, rather than trying to shut down the inflammatory process completely. So acupuncture, chiropractic, and massage support circulation in the nervous system. Mind-body approaches like breathwork, meditation, and cognitive behavioral therapy help with pain. And supplements, herbal formulas, and topicals are very, very effective for not only pain, but helping to heal the body. In the Decode Your Dolphin system, part of finding your Goldilocks zone of inflammation is asking, where do we need to let the construction crew do its job? And where do we need to gently ease the discomfort without sending the workers home for good? So how do you tell the difference in your body and in labs? Healthy short-term inflammation feels like soreness after exercise that improves within a few days, mild temporary swellness or redness after an injury, and feeling a bit tired when you're fighting off a bug, but then bouncing back. Chronic inflammation is sneakier. It often feels like fatigue that sleep doesn't fix, brain fog, slower thinking, or cotton in the head, achy joints or muscles without a clear injury, belly weight that won't budge even when you're doing all of the right things, gut issues like bloating, constipation, loose stools, and reflux on the regular. So from a TCM, traditional Chinese medicine lens, chronic inflammation often looks like damp heat or hidden heat, heaviness, puffiness, feeling swampy, maybe skin issues, yeast, irritability, or red tongue with a greasy coat, or spleen qi deficiency with dampness, tired, foggy, bloating, and craving comfort carbs. On the lab side, chronic low-grade inflammation shows up as patterns, not just one number. We look at markers like hsCRP, homocysteine, ESR, ferritin, blood sugar, and insulin and triglycerides. I'll break a few of these down because many of you have asked great questions about this. So let's start with hsCRP. By the way, if you've ever been told that your labs are normal but you still feel inflamed, type me in the chat, because so many people that I meet feel this, have this experience, and I'd like to do a little poll. So high sensitivity C-reactive protein is a protein your liver makes when your immune system is sending out inflammation signals. The high sensitivity part just means that the lab test can pick up very low levels, perfect for detecting that subtle, chronic, smoldering inflammation, especially around the heart and blood vessels. In the Decode Your Dolphin program, I don't label inflammation as good or bad. I ask instead, does this number match how you feel? Is it elevated along with other markers like blood sugar or belly fat or triglycerides? And is it a sign that your system is running hot all of the time? Now let's look at homocysteine. This is different. It's not an inflammation protein. Instead, it's a metabolite, an amino acid related molecule from methionine metabolism. When it gets too high, it can irritate and damage blood vessel linings, promote oxidative stress, and trigger inflammation and plaque buildup. It's influenced by your B vitamins, B12, folate, B6, genetics, kidney function, and lifestyle. So homocysteine tells me about vascular and brain risk. So cognitive impairment and dementia, methylation and detox capacity, how well you can get rid of the environmental toxins you've been exposed to, and whether we might support you with more leafy greens, B vitamin rich foods, or specific supplements. And finally, the erythrocyte sedimentation rate, or ESR. This is more old school. It measures how fast your red blood cells fall to the bottom of a tube in an hour. When inflammation is present, proteins in the blood make the cells clump and sink faster. A higher ESR suggests more systemic inflammation, especially in autoimmune disease or infection or cancer. It's nonspecific, and it changes more slowly than hsCRP, but it's useful context. So in plain language, hsCRP is how inflamed is my system right now. Homocysteine is how stressed and irritated are my vessels and methylation pathways. And the ESR is there a slower background inflammatory burden hanging around? In Decode Your Dolphin, I look at all of these together, not in isolation. This is critical for appropriate interpretation of your labs. We need to look at them in the context of you and what matches your story and your symptoms. So what can you do about inflammation? You might be thinking, oh, great, my body's on fire. Now what? I love this quote by Deborah Day. Lighten up on yourself. No one is perfect. Gently accept your humanness. The recommendations that I'm going to be making are about stepping into your power. From a functional medicine lens, the big inflammatory drivers are ultra-processed foods, refined sugars, industrial seed oils, and frequent blood sugar spikes. From a traditional Chinese medicine lens, that's very damp hot, heavy, greasy, sugary, spicy hot foods that create stickiness and internal heat. To cool and calm inflammation, we focus on colorful plants like berries and leafy greens and crucifers and herbs, phytonutrients that act like internal firefighters. Quality protein that stabilizes blood sugar, supports repair. Think fish, eggs, legumes, mindful portions of clean meat. Healthy fats like olive oil or fresh avocado, nuts and seeds. These all support cell membranes and health. And reducing sugar and refined flours to prevent those blood sugar roller coasters that drive inflammatory signaling. In TCM terms, we're strengthening spleen qi with warm, cooked, simple meals and clearing damp heat with lighter, bitter, and green foods. Now let's talk about movement, which is one of the most underrated anti-inflammatories. Specifically, gentle, consistent movement. This improves insulin sensitivity. It lowers chronic low grade inflammation over time, and it supports the lymphatic system in clearing cellular trash. This doesn't have to be intense. In fact, for many of you, chronic overexercise can be part of the problem. So think daily walking, gentle strength yoga, qigong, movement that leaves you feeling more grounded, not wrecked. We want good inflammation from activity to signal repair and growth, but not so much stress that your nervous system never gets to rest. Functional medicine tends to see inflammation as the shared pathway for so many chronic conditions: metabolic disease, heart disease, autoimmunity, brain and mood issues, and asks, why is your immune system inflamed? Gut, blood sugar, toxins, chronic stress? Traditional Chinese medicine doesn't use the word inflammation, but it's been describing it for thousands of years as heat or fire, or sometimes even toxic heat, dampness or phlegm blocking the channels, qi and blood stagnation, things not moving and getting stuck. Both systems are talking about the same thing in different languages: your body's response to an internal or external irritant, and the way that response can become a pattern. Why hands-on treatments sometimes work better and last longer. Less inflammation. Your healers, your acupuncturist, your chiropractor, your massage therapist are all working with this in their own way. Acupuncture moves qi and blood. It clears heat and dampness, and it regulates the nervous system through optimizing the meridians or channels. Chiropractic can improve joint mechanics and nervous system signaling, reducing mechanical and neurological sources of inflammatory stress. And massage helps circulation and lymph flow and the relaxation response, key for turning down stress-driven inflammation. When you understand your own inflammation patterns and labs, you can partner with them more clearly. Hey, my HSCRP has been elevated and I'm feeling a lot of damp heat signs. Can we focus treatment there? Would be a way that you could talk to your acupuncturist. The Goldilocks zone of inflammation, and let's talk about endurance too. In Decode Your Dolphin, we're not chasing no inflammation. That's not realistic and it's not even desirable. And you understand that now because of the fence analogy. We're looking instead for your Goldilocks zone, enough inflammatory capacity to heal, grow, and adapt, and not so much that your system is always in emergency mode. On labs, that might look like HSCRP in a gentle low range for you and trending downward over time. Homocysteine supported into a healthier range with nutrition and lifestyle, and ESR and other markers quiet, unless there's a known acute issue. In your body, it feels like waking with energy more often than not, exercise that challenges you, but you recover within a reasonable time and feel better afterwards. Clearer thinking, more stable moods, and digestion that feels more like a friend than an enemy. And I want you to know this isn't theoretical for me. Not only do I get to witness the amazing transformations with my clients on a daily basis, but I also walk my talk. In my own ultra endurance training, most recently, a few weeks ago, this was a 24-hour race that included a 4.8-mile swim followed by a 224-mile bike ride. I've had seasons where I pushed too hard too often. My body gave me very loud feedback, more soreness that didn't resolve, more infections, and disrupted sleep. That's why my inflammation load was tipping out of its Goldilocks zone. And one particular day, I was getting ready to go for a run, and I looked down and I noticed that I had a little bit of athlete's foot. So there was a little cut on my toe. I communicated with my coach, and my coach told me, that's it, you're taking the day off. I sat down and cried because I had worked so hard to be there, to earn the right to do these long runs. But his point was, if I had an open wound, then it really wasn't safe for me, not only to exercise that day, but it wasn't going to be safe for me on race day to get into open water. So I understand the discipline that takes. And I also understand how easily I could tip myself out of my Goldilocks zone. What I now guide you through are lessons that I've had to learn the hard way: honoring rest, nourishing deeply, watching labs, and recognizing the quiet signs before our bodies start shouting. So when I talk with you about inflammation, it's both from clinic and lived experience. If you're listening and thinking, this is me and I am tired of guessing, there are a few ways to go deeper. Inside of Decode Your Dolphin, we map your symptoms, your story, and your tongue and pulse patterns from a TCM perspective. We pair that with functional labs that include your HSCRP, your homocysteine, your metabolic panels, and more. And we identify your personal inflammation pattern and Goldilocks zone. We build a stepwise plan that's customized for you: food, movement, sleep, nervous system regulation, and coordination with your existing healers. If you're curious about working together, first, I'm honored. And here's how. You can book a discovery call on my website and join the next cohort, or if that's full, you can get on the wait list. My website is decodeyourdolphin.com, www.decodeyourdolphin.com, or longevitywellnessclinic.com. Or if you're not sure yet, you can start by booking a complimentary consult. This is a free 10-minute conversation where we can chat and we can get the sense of whether or not this is a good fit for both of us. As we close, I ask you to place a hand on your heart and on your belly. Your body is not your enemy, and inflammation is not a moral failing. It's a signal. You're allowed to listen to those signals with curiosity instead of judgment. Thank you for being here, for caring enough to learn this language about your body. If this was helpful to you, in addition to liking and subscribing, please share it with someone in your life who's struggling with fatigue or weight or mystery symptoms or just likes learning about this. And I'd love to see you inside Decode Your Dolphin if you feel a yes in your system. Take one more nourishing breath in and a long exhale out. I'll see you next week, Tuesday at 2:00, where we'll talk about the protein myth.